Hello everyone, it's day 74 and today I have May 16, 2024 Indian Express newspaper and I found two important articles over the editorial page, that is page number 10. So one article is about the CDS, that is Chief of Defense Staff, and it has been written by retired Commodore Uday Bhaskar, and another important article is about the Benjamin Netanyahu and trouble with the ceasefire. So let us see both of these articles one by one. So the first article is the creation of Chief of Defense Staff Theatre Commands was to enhance combat efficiency, and the results are mixed. So let us see. Media reports suggest Armed Forces Integrated Command Structure Plan looks at Vice CDS, Deputy CDS with clear rules. Indian Express May 13 that the complex and contentious policy issue of rewriting the Indian military into integrated theatre commands is gaining traction, and that the armed forces are looking at the appointment of Vice Chief of Defense Staff and a Deputy Chief of Defense Staff. This is to be cautiously welcomed, and while an official announcement would provide more detail, a review of the post of CDS in India's higher defense management metrics is merited. So, lack of an appropriate degree of jointness among the three armed forces has been a long identified as a structural constraint that needed redress. And to his credit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi picked up the gauntlet in the first few months of his second term, Modi 2.0, namely August 19. The post of CDS, that is Chief of Defense Staff, was announced with fanfare. This was seen as a bold and welcome initiative. The CDS was accorded a daunting the CDS was accorded a daunting and anomalous institution profile, but this was deemed necessary when the post was conceived. Wearing three hats, the CDS is the first among equals, along with the other three service chiefs as a four-star general. Concurrently, he is Secretary to the Government of India and the Ministry of Defence and Principal Advisor to the Defence Minister on inter-service issues. This is demanding. This is a demanding combination of roles wherein professional military expertise has to harmonized with bureaucratic acumen and a delicate political advisory role. So General Bipin Rawat, who retired as the army chief in December 2019, was appointed as the CDS in January 2020, but the trajectory was of this post has been tragic and checkered. General Rawat died in an unfortunate air accident in December 2021, and consequently, many of the policies initiated by him remained suspended. In retrospect, some of them were impulsive and less than sagacious. For reasons that remain inexplicable, the Modi government took 9 months to appoint a new CDS and in October 2022, Lieutenant General Anil Chauhan retired, was appointed as the second CDS. Eyebrows were raised at the time for this decision. To recall the retired officer and appoint him in a higher rank was unprecedented and, in my view, avoidable. Since then, there has been considerable internal deliberation about organizational changes, but towards the end of Modi 2.0, there has been little tangible movement on the operational front. In summary, if India was to face a war now, the existing command and the control structure with the three service chiefs at the apex would have to deal with the exigency. Against this backdrop, it is instructive to note that the posts at the higher level are being envisaged to enable the CDS to realize the larger objective of enhancing jointness, the sharing of domain expertise and assets, and improving composite combat capability. However, the major takeaways from the report appears perplexing and await clarification. The first pertains to the post of a vice CDS in the four-star rank. Rank hierarchy is central to the military, and if implemented, the office of the CDS would be tentated by two four-star rank officer and a later stage, complemented by three theater commanders, presumably of four-star rank. So concurrently, the three service chiefs, who are the original four-star rank officers, would have a different profile that would be devoid of the command responsibility. So, this is a major restructuring of the Indian military, and Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has cautioned that the creation of theatre commands has taken up to 20 years in bigger countries. So, adding that while the process is on, it is time consuming. He also added that many points of view have been taken on board. That is, the Air Force, for example, has strong views on the subject, and that policy steps would be initiated only when consensus has been arrived at. So, can this consensus be nudged in a positive manner? One had opined in the past that the existing set of responsibilities for the CDS case of avoidable overload, and that the role of functioning as a secretary to the government be reviewed. In the new post being mooted, it would be desirable if the bureaucratic role would be hived off to the four-star vice CDS, thereby allowing the CDS to focus on his primary roles. The reference in the report that the Maritime Theatre Command is likely to have a base in Coimbatore is perplexing. Karwar has been earlier identified, and there was a recent logic to choosing this venue for the MTC, that is Maritime Theatre Command. Why Coimbatore has not a location along the coast that will maximize existing infrastructure and asset for the MTC is intriguing. Perhaps the official announcement will provide some answers. With the two front operational tasking along the land borders, China and Pakistan, and tangled, unresolved territorial disputes that have been festering for over 7 decades and compounded by the scourge of state-sponsored terrorism, the challenges to national security and sovereignty remain abiding and tenacious. So, Kargil 99, Mumbai 2008, and the Galwan 2020 are illustrative of threats and military capacity. The creation of the CDS in the creation of CDS in 2019 was to enable an enhancement in overall combat efficiency across the board and prepare for new exigencies that will be shaped by the techno strategic churn that is now taking place. The wars in Ukraine and Palestine and the spillover into the Arabian Sea are the cases in point. An objective review should suggest that the needle of India's overall combat efficiency, the ultimate litmus test, has not moved significantly since 2019 and the announcement of the post of a CDS. A new government will assume office in the June, and whether Modi 3.0 or otherwise, the evolution of the CDS is an institution should be resolute and objective and guided by the abiding national security considerations. So, Sage Council from former Naval Chief Admiral Arun Prakash, when the first CDS was appointed, merit recall. The military ethos requires that he retains his professional independence and upholds his oath of allegiance to the Constitution. So that is about the creation of post of CDS and the Joint Military Theatre Command. So with that news, let us move on to the Middle East region where the conflict between Hamas and Israel is being going on, and what are the chances of being of a ceasefire? So let us see. This article is written by Kinvaraj Jangid, and the writer is associate professor and director, Center of Israeli Studies, Jindal School of International Affairs, OP Jindal Global University, Sonipat. So it seems that Israel and Hamas have a ceasefire deal on the table, and the details are missing. The United States and its allies, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, has been putting all their diplomatic resources into the effort. So Arab and American mediators have met several times in Cairo, Doha, Tel Aviv, and even Riyadh to hammer out an arrangement that Benjamin Netanyahu and Yahya Sinwar of Hamas will not be able to decline. Such a deal such a deal needed the release of Israeli hostages by Hamas and a ceasefire agreement from Israel. So Qatar has been the chief mediator and a host for negotiations. The formula is that Hamas will agree to release the hostages in return for thousands of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons and a 6 week ceasefire. 6 week ceasefire. So America took the burden of stopping Israel from any further ground military operations in the city of Rafah of South Gaza, withdrawing the Israeli army from Gaza and speeding humanitarian aid. Expressing frustration over the lack of cooperation from Hamas and the Israeli government, Qatar wanted to end its mediation efforts last month. So, Majid Al Ansari, advisor to the Qatar's prime minister and spokesperson for the foreign ministry, said in an interview with the Israeli newspaper Heritage that every time they are close to a deal, there is a sabotage from both sides. Soon after, the negotiations shifted from Doha to Cairo, and Egypt took over as a mediator. Whether in the Cairo or Doha, America, Egypt, and Qatar are the trio of mediators, desperate for a breakthrough. Much to their credit, they have successfully kept the negotiations alive even after hitting constant dead ends. So strangely, Hamas has been playing tough on a ceasefire deal. Its leaders, many of them violent extremists, seem to think they have won the war because Israel seems to have lost in Gaza. This is bizarre Keeping in mind the magnitude of destruction and loss of life Palestinians have endured, the mastermind of the October 7 attacks, Yava Simar, is safe in Gaza's tunnels and recently emerged for sunlight. He has managed to keep more than 130 hostages in captivity and in the final authority on the deal from the Hamas side. He does not seem concerned about a ceasefire deal, even if there is a famine-like situation for ordinary Gazans. He appears to be banking on the more strategic failures by Israel and the delegitimization of the tragedy of October 7. So, much to Simmer's liking, many progressive minded people across the world are standing for a free Palestine without much condemnation of its religious ideology or the violent means employed by him in the name of liberation. Moreover, the Israeli army has failed to catch him for over 7 months, and the US and European countries have warned Israel against increasing ground operations in Rafah, where 3 to 4 battalions of Hamas are reportedly intact. As reflected in the ongoing student protests in the US and other places, many have blamed Israel for calamities faced by civilians in the Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu's immediate worries are not the hostages, but saving himself from the arrest warrant of the International Criminal Court and his government. So, after weeks of delay, in a surprise move, Hamas accepted the ceasefire deal at last. Netanyahu and his war cabinet had already instructed the army to evacuate more than 200,000 people from Rafah and move in with ground forces. Hamas' sudden agreement may not have pleased Netanyahu and some of his cabinet members who are adamant about more fighting. War is often a means to politics, so there are many on the Israeli side and the Palestinian side rejecting the ceasefire. Soon after Hamas agreement, the details of this are still vague. There were more popular protests against Netanyahu. Families and friends of hostages have been blocking significant highways in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, sitting in front of ministers' home and offices for an immediate ceasefire. The Israel Democracy Institute, prestigious think tank, found that more than 56% of Israeli want their government to make a deal and not carry out any military operations in Rafah and other parts of Gaza. So if this deal goes through, Israel will receive 33 hostages, both dead and alive, in the first round, and the ceasefire has to stay for the next round, which will see another 30 odd hostages set free. It will go a long way for the families of hostages and for the people of Gaza, who also rejoiced when the news came out that Hamas is agreeing to ceasefire. So that was all about the Middle East conflict that is going on currently. So this is a news in transition. We'll see if a certain outcome coming on, whether coming on the ceasefire or not. So we'll meet with another important article tomorrow. So till then,